Mondays through Fridays, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the newsroom. You can't afford to miss it.
Welcome to today's edition of this program in the newsroom. My name is Abiodun Olandere. The Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kuka, has asked Nigerians to hold state governors responsible for any outbreak of electoral violence in their various states ahead of the 2023 general elections. Financial audit reports submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as required by law showed that the All Progressive Congress (APC), the People's Democratic Party (PDP), and other political parties exceeded campaign spending limits during the 2015 general elections. The two parties ran afoul of campaign spending as they reportedly exceeded the 1 billion naira ceiling set aside or set by the Electoral Act for presidential campaigns. And lastly on the show, President Muhammadu Buhari has proposed amendments to the Code of Conduct Bureau and Code of Conduct Tribunal Acts to the House of Representatives for consideration. We get to know what Mr. President intends to achieve by this in the course of this program. You are welcome once again, and we are set as usual to take a critical look at or on these three topical issues. Let me welcome Adewale Adeomi to the newsroom. You are welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Usman Ablatif, you are also welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here again.
So let's start with you, Adewale Adeomi. You must have read and heard what the Catholic Bishop Matthew Kuka said. He's putting the entire blame on governors, that their body language often sends messages, and at times is a case of monopoly of infrastructure of power. How would you react to all this?
Well, thank you very much. Bishop Matthew Kuka must know he's close to the system. He interacts with them. So he ought to know. And I agree with him that the governors are to be held responsible for whatever happens within their state, because it's either their party or the opponent or opposition party in their state. But whatever happens there, the body language of the governors is what the boys who engage in those things, they read. And also, they're doing it not for free. They're doing it to get some reward. Whether it's monetary reward, which is number one, whether it's give them cars or give them things or assure them of protection if they violate any law. Those are the things that, the benefit that the boys reap from this kind of act. And so we ought to hold the governors responsible. If the governor does not sponsor them, then the governor will be bold to name the opposition party as being behind all those things. But in many cases, if not in all, but in many cases, we see the governors looking the other way when things are not going right in their state. So Matthew Kuka is right.
Usman, Matthew Kuka is right. Is it right to you?
Yes, it's right to some extent, because Father Matthew Kuka is not a man known for frivolous statements. He's a man whose pronouncements are authoritative when it comes to the affairs of Nigerian states. He's not used to, putting out reckless statements every now and then. So whenever he's, contributing his quota to the national development, we have to look at it again and look at it again. And then Reverend Kuka is right in the sense that if you look at the arrangement of the Nigerian political system, the governors are a kind of mini presidents. In their own states, they are the mini god God in the G, small letter G. I mean, whenever they are holding reign, they are the alpha and omega of their states. They understand the terrain of the state. All the people that can, constitute or some of these electoral violence that can, go about it, they have their information, they know about it and all that. So I think if we really want to go far in the issue of taming the bad habit of electoral violence in Nigeria, we have to start, making people accountable. And in the state, it is natural. The governors are the ones who can tell us of what is happening in their state. So I think Father Kuka is right that governors should be held accountable for electoral violence that is happening in their states, whether they are part of that election directly or they are not part of it. Because if you look at it again, the Nigerian Constitution also recognizes the governor as the chief security officer of the state, if not maybe in name. But in order to know that is not in nomenclature alone, something is being given to them to back it up. That we are not only asking you to be the chief security officer of your state, every month be using this to cater for the security affairs of your state, to complement what other security agencies are doing. So I think governors are the ones who knows what is happening in their state, who know the terrain of their state, and who are powerful enough to be actors or beneficiary of any electoral violence that is happening. So Father Kuka is right, and I agree with him.
Okay, now let's look at the issues he raised one after the other. We should also remember that Reverend Father Matthew Kuka is the convener, National Peace Committee. So he must be speaking from advantageous position. He said at times when governors defected to another political party, he want to compel all other officers of government to go along or follow him to his new political party. And in some or most instances, this also causes violence.
Because the governors have made themselves demigods. Demigod, D-E-M-I-G-O-D. They've made themselves to be end-all, be-all in their state. When a governor defects to another party, like Bishop Matthew Kuka said, he expects all his subordinates,
all cabinet members
to follow him.
There was this instance in Zamfara State also, where the deputy governor refused to
yes. Even in Ekiti State, remember, was it Ekiti or Ondo? Or Edo, where the deputy governor refused to go. Yeah, it must be Edo State.
No, I'm not sure it was.
Oh, okay. But anyway, what we are saying is that the people, the electorate themselves, they treat.
It was actually Edo.
Yeah, they treat the governor like a god in the state. He's the chief executive, yes. He's the chief administrator, yes. But he's not God. And because of the accolade they get from people, whether it's real or it's false, because of all the things that they get from the people, so they believe that they can do anything and get away with it. But it's only recently, maybe because of the new Electoral Act, that we are now seeing that governors are being removed from because of going from one party to another. They are being declared non-essential. The whole system needs a retooling, a reworking. We need to revisit Nigeria and let Nigeria work like it should, not the way that these single individuals or small groups want it. We need a rearrangement of everything. That is why some people are crying for, what is that called? Restructuring, to avoid this kind of thing. So Bishop Matthew Kuka, from what I know so far, is correct.
Okay, he also said at times, or most times, governors deny opposition politicians access to facilities, government facilities. And this culminates into electoral violence.
Yes, I think he's trying to highlight some of the issues that are that always give birth to electoral violence in the pre-electioneering process before the day of election. And if you look at the way, so due to some reforms that we've had in recent past, the way we normally have electoral violence on the day of the election, it has shifted back to the day of the processes, the campaigns, and the pre-electioneering period. So now, some of the issues that are being raised by Father Matthew Kuka are issues that we need to find a way, because if you look at like the one you asked about, I mean, most of the issues that have almost eat up the polity to the extent of everything breaking apart, was the issue of governors trying to force their deputies to do their bidding against the wish of those deputies. So we've had it in Oyo State during the days of Adedibu, where Akala, where Baba Rashid Ladoja went to, and then the deputy had to impeach him and all that. And we've seen that alone and alone. So, and the issue of, and in Zamfara, like you mentioned now, why is it bad for politicians to cohabit? I mean, you want to sell your manifesto, you want to sell your party. If your deputy says he's going to party B, allow him to go. But
it was eventually impeached.
He was eventually impeached. That of Akure to Ondo State too was
when he left.
So he was also impeached. And then governors have this, bad habit of intolerance of other parties. Even if they are working together before in the distant past, the moment that person moves to party B, and then like he said, when I want to make use of state facilities, for instance, and then you are denying me that facilities because you are in charge, you are directly in charge, then what if my people resort to violence, how will you react to that? I think we need to have some legal framework that will back some of these things, so that even if governors want to deny the opponent, I know some states whereby the governors have run down the opponent in that state to the holes. You cannot say you are, unless except for few who are bold enough to face him or her. But in those states, no opposition, because the governors will not tolerate hearing opposition. Let me give you an instance. The moment things fell apart between Governor Ganduje and his erstwhile boss, Rabiu Kwankwaso, the governors went about this vendetta, hunting down every known associate of that guy, whether in governance, whether promoting business in the state and all that. It happened during that of the Edo State that you just mentioned. So governors, one of the ingredients of electoral violence that we know governors are the perpetrators of that, is the fact that governors won't allow opposition to thrive or to cohabit or to exist in their state, which is one of the ingredients of electoral violence. Because other parties too will find ways. Yorubas will say, you are pinching somebody at the side, and you are telling that person, don't make any noise, don't make any move, and you keep on that person will move and turn back to you. So I think one of those issues is that we have to find a legal framework around that, so that if, like for instance, let me give you an instance. What gives any governor the right not to allow opposition to use the stadium of the state, for instance? Because it's the property of the state, built with the money and the taxes of the citizens of those states. And those people in the other party are also members of those states. Those facilities were built with their money, with their taxes. And then you don't say you are not going to use it just because you have the temporal power to say no. I think some of those things are one of the things we really need to look into, so that this, spirit of tolerance and spirit of acceptance of other dissident voice will be with us. And if we do that, we'll be able to grow our democracy to an enviable heights.
Okay, I don't mean. Are we being fair to these governors? I want us to look at it from another perspective now. I know. Look, in the case of Ondo and Zamfara, they are not exactly the same. The Zamfara state was a governor moving to another party, and the deputy said, "No, I will remain here."
Yeah.
And the case of Ondo was a deputy saying, "I'm moving to another party, and I still want to continue to be deputy governor." So morally, because at times we must also preach moral too. We can't expect, or we don't expect our society to become
Yes.
a moralless one.
The case of Ondo is despicable because you were elected on the same ticket as the governor. It's not your name that is the number one name. You are the assistant to the governor. So if you leave that party, that means you are resigning that position that got you into the power. You are resigning that position if you leave that party.
It happened in Oyo too recently too.
Yes, or even in Oyo. So the deputy who leaves the governor is to be chastised, to be disciplined. So if the court decides,
it should leave.
Yeah,
If governors leave, nobody.
If governors leave, governor is
it
is the governor who is the head of the ticket. The ticket that got them in. So if the governor leaves and the deputy follows, that's fine. If the court decides that it's okay. But it's more on the deputy for me than the
okay, in the case of Safara, where the deputy says, no, I want to remain here.
Let the deputy
I came in through these tickets.
Exactly. So in this case, that deputy is correct because he's still in the party that got him there only through the ticket of the governor. So the court ought to look at the governor and say that something is wrong somewhere.
When the legislator intends to impeach,
yes,
it is what is right to them. So it is not subjected.
That is what is so confusing in Nigerian politics. Because why do you have to jump from one party to another? Why can't you endure it until the end of that term and then move to any party you want? In strong democracies, we don't see cross-carpeting like we see in Nigeria. In strong democracies, it doesn't happen.
But this cross-carpeting, we call it defection now.
Defection, yes.
It has been part of our democracy.
It has become part of
beginning.
Nigerian system, Nigerian democracy. And we have to live with it because that's the Nigerian factor, that is the Nigerian image. So we have to live with it, but it's not the proper way.
Okay, you said perhaps there should be a legal framework. Can law capture everything?
Law may not be able to capture everything, but if you have law backing it up, it will minimize the way it is abused by our politicians. Because if we really want to sanitize this process, our electionary process, our electoral system and all that, we need to start, being morally upright. If you are elected on the platform of a particular party, people voted you at that particular time. If you had said you are going to vote on the platform of the party you want to defect to now, maybe you would not have won. Then people voted you saying that you are a candidate of that party. 6 months down the line, you jump from that party and you still want to be using that mandate. I think it is morally wrong. And those are some of the issues that has been bringing some of the... If you remember that of Oyo State very well, it was so chaotic, it was so embarrassing. 6 or 8 lawmakers impeaching the governor and all that.
In the case of Akala also.
Yes.
But this recent one.
This one followed, but that one. Even this one too. It is a case. It is part of things that we need to look into. Why must the deputy governors be at the mercy of the governors? If they are sharing the same ticket, they should be sharing the same power.
Yeah, I said it. Somebody is number one.
No, even though there's nothing like number one in law.
No,
they are sharing the same tickets.
No,
that is why. Okay, let me give you an instance.
Someone talk about extra tire. When the 4 tires are okay, the extra tire will not.
No. If we want our democracy to
not have any purpose.
It is either we scrap that office or we find a way to make that office more meaningful.
No,
you need to amend the constitution.
The office of the deputy governors as it is now.
Maybe as you suggested a while ago, perhaps the constitution can also take care of this too, so that when we have this kind of scenario in future, then we know what the law says. Yeah. Now, before we leave this, what do you think we can do to reduce this overbearing influence of governors, when it comes to political violence?
Well, there's not much we can do other than to look at the constitution and amend it, look at the statutes in the state and amend it, or write into it whatever needs to be done.
But do you remember that some people disobey even court judgment.
Well, yes, even the courts need to do something about it. They need to pass judgment that will prevent this kind of thing happening. But how can they prevent it? Because they are also under the chief executive of their respective states. The federal judges are under the federal government.
But constitutionally, they are not under.
Well, they claim to be independent judiciary, but are they actually independent? If they want to be independent, the chief executive somewhere will create an influence.
Are you expecting someone to give them just that liberty, that freedom, that independence?
Well,
there is this saying that if you don't ask for it, nobody will give it to you.
Nobody will give it, but somebody ought to think ahead. Think ahead and look at what is likely to happen. What are the likely scenarios? And write the law, adjust it, or write it to accommodate such future occurrences.
Okay, we move to the second topic now. Usman, I'm starting with you. Financial audit report. We are now, INEC had released that of the 2015. The 2019 is yet to be released. And of course, we cannot talk of the forthcoming 2021. But we have to base our discussion on the 2015 now. According to that audit report, the two political parties, there was no Labour Party then, so this third force was not. So the APC and the PDP, they exceeded their limits. In the case of APC, according to that report, the party generated 604.5 million naira.
Million, not billion.
Million. Yes, I think it's million.
Million.
It's million, yes. But spent 2.9 billion. So deficit of 2.3 billion. In the case of PDP, the party earned 799 million, but spent 9.53 billion, deficit of 8.7 billion naira. Let me start with, because you tell us, I will think of how do you first don't let me influence what you say. How will you first react to this?
I first of all, I think all over the world, financing the election is very expensive. It is not a tea party stuff. But while saying that too, in order not to monetize our electoral system, they heavily monetize it so that it will water down quality and all that. I think it's a welcome development that we are seeing, that though it is coming very, very late. If we are receiving that of 2015 in 2022, it means we have to wait till 2030 before we receive that of 2023, 6 years down the line. So I think, but deficit in that nature, I think INEC should, I don't know what the law says about that, but I think, is it a must that the party must spend whatever it generates, not outside it? Because if you look at it, there is no way party can, because when party gets money in Nigeria, people don't pay party dues or anything, membership money or so. Well, the only way party generates money in Nigeria is look at the difference between that of the APC and about 6 billion difference. It means it outspent the opposition party. So it means that from the money generated from their member, from the sale of forms, that is one. And in the case of the ruling party, it will not be monies, illegally taken from the coffers of the government, exactly, of the state. And that is one thing we have to be looking at. How can we find a way whereby the ruling party will not be abusing the office by using money meant for running of state to run election because they are in power at that particular time? So I think then INEC should tell us what the law says about the spending of the party. Does the party have to spend whatever they raise, they generate from the sales of form and donations and all that, or
they have sources? Yes, the same.
Yes, sales of some donations and all. What I'm saying in essence is that, what is the framework, what is the benchmark for that year? They cannot just reel out figures and say, okay, you spent, okay, in this 2015, we expect parties not to spend more than 2 billion each. So it means if you spend above 2 billion, we have to ask you why, where did you get the money from, and then you have to come and be accountable for that money.
They explain where they got it. I think where they got the money is not the issue now, but you should not spend more than that. I think that is the issue, and that is concern of the law. I don't know. In US, there is also spending limits.
The US has what is called campaign finance law, a law that is enacted, that is in place, that is how much an individual, corporation or individual or corporate body can donate to the party, and there is no limit to how much the party can spend, but there's a limit to how much you can donate to the party.
As an individual?
As an individual or corporate body or anybody. Okay. There's a limit to that. Nigeria doesn't have any such law. How much you donate, how much you receive, who is financing them. So it's every man's game. If they PDP raised 799 million and they spent how much billion?
They spent 9.5.
9.5 billion. Who do you blame? You can't blame them. If they need more money, they have to find it from somewhere. The only thing is that 2015, obviously, they got it from the covers of the government. But there is no law limiting how much they can spend. There is no law limiting how much you can donate to them. There is no law telling them where to collect or receive money or not receive money. It's only now that INEC is saying that Peter Obi cannot receive money from the United States. There is no law that says they cannot. So INEC can say whatever it wants until the legislature passes a law that says you cannot receive or you cannot spend more than this. It's every man's game. Let them do whatever they can or they want to do.
I'll still come to Usman. Now it's 1 billion naira. In the real sense of it, 1 billion naira in dollars. I know we are spending naira in Nigeria, but when you compare it to pound sterling, dollar, and
it's not a whole lot.
It's not a huge amount.
It's not a whole lot. In dollars now.
Let's look at what happened yesterday in Jos, where the APC flagged off its presidential campaign. According to the front page of the Punch, 30 private and chartered jets. How much do you think that will cost? Just a single day. And
there is no law.
And I'm also aware that some 2-3 national television stations transmitted the event live.
Of course, because they're paid.
Too.
They sell the airtime. I don't blame the television.
So are we even sincere with this spending limit?
We're not sincere. There's no law until we pass a law or legislation. They will spend, and nobody will limit how much they can spend. They have 30 private jets. There's no law against it. If I'm able to afford one, you're able to afford one. Let's take our 3 jets and go to Jos. There's no law that says you cannot fly your private jet, but the moral law is what we need to look at. Is it moral? Does it take into consideration the condition of the country, the economic situation in the country, the situation of the average person in Nigeria? Does it take that into account? In Jos, they don't even care whether you are poor or rich.
Is that not being sentimental?
Maybe that's why those people were throwing things in the air.
Usman, perhaps at times we are sentimental about this.
Yes.
I have a private jet. You are contesting, I'm a friend. And I decided
give it to you
to pick 2-3 people. Are we actually? Are we not being unnecessarily sentimental about this spending limit?
On the issue of private jets coming, and I mean the issue of spending limit, I think the INEC should be more, at home with the realities in Nigeria. In 2015, even if we have it then, the issue of vote buying on the day of election has not even came about in 2015.
Yeah.
Even if we have it, it's very, very minimal. But the last 2 elections that we did in 2019 and the elections that we've had after it shows that if the next 2023, the money that will be spent on the day of election, it will even be more than all the money that has been spent during all the electioneering process.
Exactly.
Because we've heavily monetized our politics. And INEC that is saying this, what has INEC done when party are selling form for 100 million naira?
That's one of the sources of revenue.
Yes, no, it is an invitation. It is not sources of revenue. Even if you have sources for revenue, you should. I mean, somebody is spending 2 billion before he can become. Let's say a House of Assembly candidate, member. So you think that person will get to power and will not recoup that money back? So what we are saying in essence is that INEC should also be awake to their responsibility. If a party can sell a form for 100 million and sold as many as about 20 something, that's about 2.something billion alone, and you are asking that party to spend 1 billion, it is not realistic. What they should do in essence, if you want to police the way parties are spending money, make sure that you police every donation coming to them, every account that money is coming to, mark it through EFCC, and make sure that you police the way they are spending it, so that one party, and if you look at some of these issues we are discussing, it whether one day you are in opposition, next year you might be in power. This same party that is in opposition today will now outspend the party that will be in opposition tomorrow. So in that instance, okay, in 2015, the very first money Buhari decided to track and to collect every last couple of it was the Dasuki money. Dasuki gate. You do know that Dasuki money was shipped out through election election spending. It was given out to people 100 million, 200 million, in dollars and in naira. So in that instance, it is part of that 9 billion that is spent.
Yes.
That 2 billion of Dasuki was spent part of the electioneering process. I think if we want to do justice to it, INEC should not only be making pronouncements, INEC should also find a way to force political party not to outspend. Yeah. We have to start from the sale of form. When you sell form at exorbitant rates, House of Assembly, a guy bought, House of Representative form for 10 million naira. He was running around. He's a good candidate, but he couldn't finance it. So in that instance, it means a Saturday that will be very lively, you will start knowing from Thursday when things are coming into your account. So I think it is from that time we have to start nipping some of these things in the bud and trying to tell our politicians that you cannot sell form beyond this amount. You cannot invite so you cannot spend so amount more than you can give out. So, and if you spend outside that, it is now the work of INEC to police and track how you get that money, because it's likely to come from proceeds of money laundering, fraud, and some other illicit acts. So that is my take on that.
Okay, I know you said a while ago that the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, who is being said to be sourcing for campaign funds from outside, that there is no law. Exactly. I have been reliably informed that it is against the Electoral Act, Section 85.
The 22, Electoral Act 2022.
Yes. Section
and that's why INEC made
Act
that pronouncement.
Prohibits political parties from retaining or obtaining funds outside Nigeria in contravention of Section 225 of 1999 Constitution as amended. So the punishment is forfeiture of the fund and a fine of 5 million naira.
Yes, INEC made that announcement too.
There's
a law.
There is a law, yes. Because
that you cannot receive from outside Nigeria. But within Nigeria, Uncle?
Yeah, you can receive within Nigeria. You can receive, that is donation.
Maybe we should clarify it so that within Nigeria, you said.
But you cannot receive outside Nigeria. Because that will bring about external influence.
Even it's against the law in the United States.
But have we not been having external influence? But we come to that later.
But even in the US, it's against the law for an American to finance political party in any country. Okay. It's against their law.
But this one is Nigerians.
But we're saying Nigeria, yes.
Okay, now let's look at this account. You see, when you talk about auditing an account,
yes,
there are a lot of money that doesn't go through an account. Yes. I want to, you agree with me?
Yes. About 85% of it.
So there are something that as they come, you spend.
Yes.
As they come, you spend. You don't need to. So if that report indicated that 604.5 million naira was spent by APC in 2015 and 799 million by PDP in 2015. it means that the amount raised will be far above this 604 and 799.
Exactly.
And the amount spent, of course, will also be higher than this 2.9 and 9.53.
Yes. It's
so,
always
so who is deceiving who?
Exactly. Who's zooming who, we call it in.
Who's zooming who?
Yeah.
you call it in the US.
Yes. So this is the thing. They raise money and they spend. There's no limit to how much they can spend. There is a way. That means somebody can influence the government. If I give you 10 billion and you win your election, that means I'll be one of the first persons at your door. Don't forget me. You give me contracts. Influence peddling will follow it. Will always follow it.
But in the real sense of it,
yes.
Usman, I want to talk to listen to this. You mentioned it in passing a while ago. The amount of money spent on the day of election, or 48 or 24 hours to the day of election, I'm not sure those kind of money pass through any account.
It doesn't at all.
For instance, I know there are over 900 and something thousand polling units in Nigeria. These political parties will have what they call it, agents. In each of these polling units.
Those agents will
Then at times we also have canvasser who will be going around and say, please, our party is our man, we will do well. We have undecided people. Though it may be illegal to campaign, but they have ways of doing it. These people will not also do it for free.
I overheard yesterday where somebody was talking about, in the public bus, somebody was talking about the last election, July 16, that they received 10,000 from one party and the other party didn't come up with his own money until the morning of the election, and the people got 5,000 naira.
So all this money,
all this money, they don't go through any auditing.
How do we audit them?
They don't go through any auditing system. It's just people, those bringing it up.
Is this not Nigerian kind of democracy?
It is wrong democracy. It is a wrong and bad image of democracy. So we should just call it something else and not call it democracy.
Then what do we call it?
Well, I don't know, but we call it Nigeria crazy.
I've said it. All over the world, you spend for election. You spend on election. What the issue we are discussing here is overspending. Because the moment you overspend, there is no way you will not find a way to get back whatever you've invested into that. And that is what the first gateway to people not performing in office, people embezzling money and all that. Because these days it has become increasingly, heavily, how do I put it, cost something to become a political office holder. You have to spend.
It's expensive.
It's expensive to become a political office holder.
And a poor man may not
go political office. And then and some of, like you said, some of this money are not even reported. The one INEC is working on is the one the political parties provided to them. This is our party account. This is a money donation we receive. This is that. Even if you want to face the reality now, to be a governor of a state, you spend close to 7, 8, or 10 billion, depending on the nature of the state. And
because they go around local governments.
Yes.
They erect
big board and all that and everything.
They mobilize people from one local government to about at times 50
and the moment you continue playing money politics, there is no way, there is no rocket science. There is no rocket science about it.
There are t-shirts.
There are t-shirts and everything.
So many things.
So the moment you continue playing money politics, there is no two way about it. Nobody is going to develop.
We are here blowing smoke, but the electorate, they are demanding money from politicians. The electorate, they are demanding money. So politicians have to find money from somewhere.
Who first brought money?
So what?
In 1999, I'm not sure money was spent.
Money was spent. I don't know 1999.
Yes, it wasn't that. It wasn't at the turn of every election in Nigeria. We are going deeper and deeper into money politics.
Because I want to believe that because that time they had no money to spend.
Exactly.
It was the military that was ruling.
Yes.
So but also they had
no money to spend, and Nigerians were yearning for democracy.
Yeah.
So people just have to say, let these people go. Yeah. Let us just vote these people.
And as soon as civilians came in, they talk about monetized politics.
But
it was the civilian.
But I think the campaign against
we cannot blame the electorate on this.
They demand money.
No. It is the politicians. You spent 4 years as in your first term. You didn't bring anything, and I know in a month you are collecting 25 million as your salary as a senator. Now you are coming back.
Is that recorded? Is that recorded?
You know, that is the official plus the
allowances and all.
Yes, included about 25 million for senator for a single senator.
What about governor? What about
the money coming to governor?
What about president? Okay, we move to the second topic now. I think that is where we should start from.
Yes.
We should start from the amount of their salaries and allowances.
Allowances is what the problem is.
We should start from there. Yeah. Okay, we move to the third topic now. Our time is running out. President Muhammadu Buhari proposed amendments to the Code of Conduct Bureau and the Code of Conduct Tribunal Act. The aim is to ensure the effective performance of the functions of the Bureau and assist the tribunal in effective and speedy dispensation of cases.
Well, the president is correct, asking that the act be amended. He must have identified defects in those acts, the CCB and CCT, the bureau, powerless or unable to perform like it should. So the president is correct. I agree with the president. The act needs to be amended, but let the Nigerian public know the details of the act. And then when we're about to amend them, let everybody know these are the changes that we're planning to make in them so that we can recommend our own ideas into it.
Yes,
so,
I think for now,
yes,
it has been proposed to the House of Representatives for consideration.
Just House of Representatives. What about the Senate?
No, in this instance, I think it is House of Representatives.
House of Reps, yes.
So at the appropriate time,
yes.
And that is why we are looking at this now, to sensitize members of the public towards knowing that there is an amendment in the offing. So if you have contribution to make, you should start thinking about that.
Let them hold public or town hall meeting.
Usman.
Yes. First of all, I commend the president for that, but I think the CCB, CCT of a thing is one of the agencies of government that should be easing the burden of the neck of EFCC and ICPC when it comes to fighting corruption, by documenting the physical properties owned by government officials before coming to office, and then auditing same after they leave office to know if there is any infractions committed in that period of time. But if you look at CCB of a thing, it's not about, amending one act or something. The CCB's Code of Conduct Bureau itself need overhauling, total overhauling. It is only once in every 5-6 years that they engage in one celebrated case. So after that, they go back to their olds, and then you don't hear anything about them again. And then every now and then, EFCC is seizing various houses. And in fact, if you look at the EFCC has been encroaching into the functions of CCB in some instances, because the CCB is not doing what is expected of that organization, which is to monitor the physical acquiring of property by political office holders. In fact, it even extends to civil servants, because there was a time I saw they brought some of these files to our office for top civil servants to also fill the forms. But I think the code of conduct itself needs total reorganization, so that the function they are meant to perform will not just, because every now and then we can also attest to that fact that it has been long. You hear that code of conduct is taking somebody to court or jailing somebody because he has seizing somebody's property because he has contravened the act of the. So it is a very good organization, but I think they are not doing much for now from what is expected of them. They have to ease the burden of other related security agencies like ICPC and EFCC.
Maybe I should say this for purpose of clarification. Every civil servant, when you get to a certain level, you also fill this form. even those in the private sector, those in the banks, when you are a manager, certain status, you also fill this form. Then political office holders too, when you are appointed, you also fill this form. So it goes beyond just
politicians.
The political class. Civil servants are also involved.
Yes.
Now, you will recall the story of Olusola Saraki. You know, the allegation there was that I stand by that allegation. I'm not saying it was convicted. Yes. That at times you
write more into it.
You put more into it in the with the belief that when money comes, maybe you have the intention of having a house in London now, or New York, and they say, okay, after I must have been senator or governor for 2 months or 2 years, so you now put it there in anticipation. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Yes. So these are some of the things we learned that they do.
Yes. Well, the CCB or CCT, CCB is the board or the bureau, and when it gets to CCT, like Saraki got to, then by then the act has been committed. But when Saraki was there and they put him in the dock as a dependent, it became so sensational. You remember Dino Melaye?
Just like that of Tinubu too.
Exactly, just like that of Tinubu before him in 2012. So those things, they are laws. They are just laws on papers to some people. Some people don't intend to obey them. So that is why it must be rewritten. And I agree with the president. Because Nigerians don't obey laws. Even common traffic laws, Nigerians don't obey. Look at, let me not go deeper into that, but Nigerians do not respect Nigerian laws. Let me just say it like that.
Is it the rich that are not respecting all the poor, or most Nigerians?
No,
Nigerian individuals, they're the body language or the reflection of their leaders. They're doing their own, and they will blame the leader for their own lawlessness. So the whole system, the whole society, blaming one another. Politicians will blame the people are pointing fingers at the politicians. And so CCB is there with the law. CCT, when they bring them up, then it's the same Nigerian people who will rise in defense of those who have been accused of infraction. So where are we going? That is so confusing. And our children are the ones to be blamed. I mean, to be pitied, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Our children are to be pitied.
Because they'll carry the burden.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Usman, if you look at the Code of Conduct Tribunal now, you remember the case of Umar. You know, he was also drawn into some not too pleasant.
The chairman.
Yeah, I said he was drawn. I'm not saying
yes, he was.
I'm not saying he was convicted or so. And at times, the Code of Conduct Tribunal became to many people agent of political victimization. And if you look at maybe that is why Mr. President is proposing this amendment. If you look at the activities of that tribunal, will you say you are encouraged so far?
No, I've not. I've said this in my opening statement about this topic, that I'm not encouraged with the operation of that tribunal. The tribunal has not been doing. It has not been doing anything to me compared to what it should be doing. And then there should be. That's why I like this amendment. Maybe when we get to know more details about things that are going to be amended. One of the things that should be amended is that whenever somebody is to be arraigned in that tribunal, there should be no camera or nothing. Let people go. So that whenever a big man is about to be arraigned, he will not go and arrange for all these things, his supporters and everything, and they will come and intimidate and sensationalize.
It's also against the right of people to know.
Yes, no, it's against the right. Okay, can you?
More importantly,
can you?
It's against our own.
Yes, we are going to know.
As journalists,
we are going to know. Okay, if the Supreme Court is sitting now, will you film the Supreme Court at the actual sitting? No, but that doesn't mean that reporters will not report it after the event.
Okay.
I mean, that will bring down the over-sensationalization of those stories, so that people and victimization that you talk about. Look at the big celebrated cases that Code of Conduct Tribunal has engaged in the past 5-6 years. You realize that it is just them picking some people at some intervals due to somebody do or anything. So it is not a kind of generalization of doing their work. It is not a way of saying, okay, these people are working. if you know EFCC, you might want to fault them on so many, on so many arenas, but you know EFCC is working and they are doing their best. You cannot say that of the Code of Conduct Bureau. So I think we need to revitalize that bureau to make it more active, to give them more power to work. Like for instance now, you can seize anybody's building. No, you don't need to bring them in. If they want to go to court, let them go to court. If they want to come to tribunal, call their lawyers and then let them come and defend themselves. But in the instance, those that they brought all this while for the past 6-7 years, how many of those cases they've seen to concluding?
Okay, I don't know if any of you have been to the Code of Conduct Bureau office in Osun State.
No.
It's just as if they are making use of a duplex. So if you look at the enormity of job saddled on that bureau, and you also take a critical look at the personnel, I'm not sure that bureau was set up to achieve goal. Because with due respect to those that are working there, I'm not trying to diminish them, but if you look at the number, and you look at the number of civil servants, number of politicians, local governments, states, if you look at all of them, do you think that agency or bureau is actually set up to achieve the goals of the act?
The federal government itself is not serious about these things, about corruption, fighting corruption, exposing corruption and all, because if they are serious, then they will make sure that the bureaus in each state is very strong and well staffed and in the proper quarters. The reason for the flouting of the law is because you don't see them as anything, and you only see them as paper tiger. They are just there in name. Then they don't have power. Their bark is worse than their bite. That is the way many people see them. And why is it that the only time that we see CCT on television is when a politician is being, being arraigned or being tried and all that? What about the civil servant who is committing infraction?
Because if you get to INEC office now, right from the commissioner, you see the legal department, you see the ICT department. I'm not sure.
No. The bureau is not that organized.
Yes.
And that's why that the president is suggesting amendment now is a welcome development. It shows that it will take down some of these issues. Let me give you an instance. I said the other time that even EFCC is now encroaching into when EFCC is making investigations.
30 seconds.
Okay, the moment the EFCC got to the issue of what it pertains CCT, they should transfer those cases to CCT so that CCT will take over from there. Not that INEC and EFCC will be doing the same job of CCT and CCT staff will be sitting somewhere idling.
So these are some of the areas we
need to amend.
We hope
we need
the
to
amendment
do,
take care.
We need to overhaul
Okay,
that.
that's how far we'll be able to go on today's edition of this program in the newsroom. Let me appreciate Adwale Adeomi for.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Usman Ablative also appreciate.
Thank you very much. It has been an interesting day.
In the newsroom, we'll be back tomorrow. My name is Abiodun Olalere. We'll see you some other time. Bye-bye.
Mondays to Fridays, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. In the newsroom, you can't afford to miss it.
Good morning, Nigeria. Year after